as we were discussing, for the lovely divine feminine and feminines and anyone who is an inner child adult or divine masculine and or masculines, well, until they have their inner child in the forefront, we're not impressed, okay? And so a divine masculine and masculines, they talk sense and they ground the divine feminine and feminines. Why? Because the mind grounds the body, and that's when it's integrated, and that's when you tap into the infinite higher human conscious potential view. But that's only if you want to actively pursue the true spirituality journey, which does involve the same as the true integration journey of your human being embodied brain. So inner and outer well-being comes from your left and your right becoming friends. You don't have to do any of this. In fact, there are scientists, people who chase each other down the hallways. Okay, so we're going to talk, though, 5D Mystic here in the Enlightenment Soul Age group, and that's because I want to talk also about the counterparts. So a divine feminine is a person who has no trauma charges lingering. They're a clear slate. They have emotions. So whenever charges come up, they're not traumatic charges to us, which is why we don't think of our lives. Like if I look to my life, it's not post-traumatic growth. Technical verbiage will be utilized by those who want to claim another human being's experience and organize it in the way that they find matches what they are voicing. Which reminds me, every one of us has a voice for a reason. Mine is here for those who do the human love narrative and spiritual self-help, the 5D. It's Christ consciousness, it's unconditional love. It's called neutrality and duality. With integrity, you can turn the other cheek. You are like Little Mermaid without giving up the tail or the voice. You say, Eric, this is the deal, and you have healthy self-worth. So you're a conscious creator every day of your life more, and you, in fact, don't turn your back on faith or God. Not the 3D type of God. No, they're in the medieval times. 4D, they're wearing mantles. They think clairs make them special. They actively will state things like this, that the divine feminine is awoken and the divine masculine is not. And while as an ignorant human being on attachment trauma informed, I definitely saw divine masculines, counterparts, consistently make what are those, a person who needs to be seen, soothed, safe, secure, basically that does not know how to self-regulate. So they will actively go and say yes to the lowest bidder. They will put people on pedestals. They will allow themselves to be treated in specific ways, the codependent, enmeshing, low self-esteem, indirect communicators, passive-aggressive. They don't know healthy boundaries are conversing, and they close themselves up, and that inner critic and outer critic and the fucking drugging, drinking, and doing it all over, numbing, all of it, all of that, it's all very much being able to be taken care of by people like Dr. Daniel Fox, Patrick Tiahan, Dr. Daniel Siegel, Bezel van der Kolk, Peter Levine, Stephen Porges, Janina Fisher, Julianne, you name it. I got a bunch of names for you. Dr. Albert Wong, Sue Martin. So there's therapists for any person who's dating people who treat them like pieces of shit. Because that's exactly what a divine feminine will notice, is how another human being allows others to tell them actively what. And so, again, that's why we don't talk to our people, and that's, as a mystic, you start to disengage completely from talking about anything, because divine feminines who are not divine feminines start to insult other people. Like the lady who, I don't know whatever, if she's just a journalist, but she says polyamory, that we overestimate the capacity for a human being to use their brain. I find that insulting as a human. If you think you're stupid, be my guest. I don't think you're stupid. I think if I can break down to you a concept as a 5-year-old, you'll understand it. Like I know if I get somebody who knows math well, they can explain it to me. If they're a grown human being, means they have compassion. Grown means you know how to be a divine masculine and a divine feminine, because it means you know how to be a functional adult. Also means you have a sense of humor. Means you're a decent human being. Means a lot of things. It means you have fun in life and you have 24 hours and you know that you could die tomorrow. Not going to waste time. So the only people who waste time in drama land are the same people who don't know, in fact, what a divine feminine is at all. I noticed them. Again, I got taught about how it works when God and people and the whole statement of humans are evil, it's Lucifer. Nope, they all can use good therapists. It's equated in sciences. So anybody who gives anybody a story, to me, a human being who does personal development, self-help, there is no need for story. I don't need to demonize or romanticize. I also don't need to put up with your projection, which I have dealt with people. I'm being triggered right now by you. I can't change how I talk, Eric. So you know what? I'll be quiet for one round, and then I'm going to thank you for your time, and I'm going to show myself out, and I will not be back. It's such a pleasure. Because the active part of you not hearing what you just ask another person to change what they're doing because you don't like it tells me you don't understand how it works about the likes and not likes and how to share room. And the fact that you voice it in a way, because the way you voice it, the way you ask it, the way you talk about it. Okay, so functional adult love language, that takes your practice as you become more curious, open, accepting, and loving, which is where divine feminine is. And that's why we thank our masculines. They talk sense to us, they ground us. And that is by being our own mind with the left and the right. Okay, so my divine masculine is Maria's mind, and my divine feminine is Maria's body, and then my gut. And as a person who tapped into my own infinite higher human conscious potential experience, I can share with you why spiritual self-help helps only those who do mindset, mindsight, and mindfulness with self-awareness, accountability, regulation. Means you don't go projecting, that cashier lady looked like me, I want to keep gossiping like a teenager. You're going to talk about things like we all do. Guess what happened to me? So here, I had this beautiful thing happen. I mean, it was beautiful. Yes, it was beautiful. So as a divine feminine, immediately I knew in my gut and my heart, this is meant to be. But then I went to talk about the situation because it was an interaction that was, like, I'm going to use this. Let's say I tell you, you are so amazing. I love everything. You're just so beautiful. Okay. So I'm complimenting you. And you don't just say, oh, stop, you're so. No, you actively push me. And you get angry and you push me into a dungeon. Okay, so I'm giving you a figure of speech. Okay, so that's the kind of thing. When something like that happens, you're like, what the fuck just happened? So divine feminine will know in the gut and the heart. Again, this is part of what is going to be cool, but you get a reaction in line like, what the hell just happened here? Okay, so my inner harmony is what is a restorative embodiment, self-aware person, accountable, regulating. In fact, in those moments, there's a recalibration of the mind and body to say, okay, well, neighbor, you threw shit in my face. Are you okay? Let me try and make this better. Not to please appease you, to just actively, let's calm our nervous systems down. So I'm trying to get our nervous systems back into the mammalian heritage, social engagement. So from yellow-red, which is biological rudeness, to let's be online, both of us with our prefrontal cortex so we can talk like functional adults. Okay? So divine feminines, we don't get lost. Our oversoul and our divine masculines, they don't do shit in a way of us actively doing this. We'll talk about what happens. This is why this comes from experience. You will talk about situations like, again, you have safe haven, secure-based relationships, right? So we get to talk about life. People who take our life out of context and apply their own feelings, that's what we don't appreciate. But every person who's a Cusco will do this actively. There's actively human beings who do not know how to sit with a person and do mindful listening, mindful thinking, mindful talking, which means I'm a differentiated self. Please use your human name. Okay, I have thoughts and feelings, emotions that I feel subjective reality. I'm beginning to create a separation. My thoughts and feelings are not irrefutable facts, not. I have culture, I have family, I have upbringing, I have a way that I'm used to feeling and thinking, and this is all important. That's all of that stuff that you clear, which makes you then a seeker and makes you what an actual divine feminine is. So that connection to pure consciousness, purusha, unconditional love, pure energy, prakriti, your whole 3-year-old heart. It's you being, use your human name, and then you have the functional adult. You don't use your biases at all. You know of them and you carry them. So your past, your childhood is not charged. Anything is not charged. And if emotions come up, you can regulate. Like when I have those panic attacks, I consistently knew how to regulate because I have healthy self-worth and a prefrontal cortex. And I know how to work with emotions because I didn't get shamed. I had a good, and I still do, nurturer who allowed me to be lovingly accepted. I got to not work for love, which is why no counterpart of mine am I going to keep you by a string. That's not how that works. You tap into your infinite potential because I believe in you. And that third part about having all those emotions, you can bring in your mood. Just if I'm happy though, and you actively go out of your way to make a snarky comment and you don't notice it, that's not partnership. That's a low self-esteem person who's a Cusco, who's, I'm going to notice it. You're not my ideal partner at all because you actively, with your amygdala, didn't do something that is nice. You're not courting me. You don't care in a way of being romantically involved with me. Romance means you romance me, means you surprise me. It means you consistently lift me up higher. This is not the fairy tale of people who I have to work really hard to make. No, it's because there's a inclined enjoyment. And it's because, though, what I'm presenting to you right now, and we'll close on this one out and then do another one, it is called healthy self-worth people don't work hard to be their self with anyone, and a person who wants to be with that person will actively appreciate what is an authentic human being. They will actively want more of that, but they will actively be that. They will also actively not make a big deal out of emotions to the extent of calling it torture or laundry, or that the world is, gray and all of that. Any functional adult will know what it is to walk this planet with a safe haven, secure base 1-year-old. This is what it is to have an integrated brain, and this is what your inner and outer well-being is. Dr. Daniel Siegel does a great job at explaining what eustress is. There's a difference. Find it hard to believe, Maria, that I'm a first. Yes, you keep believing it, distressed people. Go, have fun. Meantime, the eustressed people are the smart ones because we actively understand concepts that are not just from thin air. So, divine feminine here, 5D mystic, we know sciences because sciences explain things that spirituality had already taught us and that our ancestors taught us and that Jesus taught us. The ones who want to be special, they're not actively hearing what the teaching was. They don't know what 5D knows because they don't want to. I'm going to leave this one in the every voice is here for a group. The 7 to 14 charming, I spot them like a hawk, and then I know of Peter Pan with his and her and their lost boys, lost girls, lost days, all over the place. I can, and we're going to have fun with Waldo. I'm going to do another episode in a minute and get some humor going on there. But there's a dark matter, dark energy, and energetic balancing that infinitely exists as our lovely, consciousness continues its natural cycle. The multi-layered approach. Where are you? There's a card, I forget which one it is, that talks to us about this multi-in-depth. So, a divine feminine taps into the infinite higher human conscious potential because we're not destabilized, because we are easily in oneness. My faith was spoken to me very directly with very simple words and those basic, again, commandments, but not in a way of what I see people doing with them now. It is my brothers and sisters. Everything is one energy manifesting itself in more. All that's what it is. So we are all fragments of the same energetic cloth, which is why the active free will choice is always the same. When I interact with you, I will have the capacity in that moment with my free will to choose. But that's if I'm a clear slate and if I'm mindfully aware of myself, which means I know my lens, which means I know my core self, my solo self, my narrative, my relational. So if I am instead ignorant on my childhood trauma, then that is something that I will, as a divine feminine, say, I know of this, the unconscious not being brought forth, and I've grown more aware of it with all people who do not know how to be functional adults. So it's not personal. In fact, it's unfair of me, a conscious, functional adult, healthy self-worth, human being, I don't even need to do them. It's unfair of me, a divine feminine, to go and expect you, who has no clarity on your own first 8 years of life, 8 to 16, and then on all attachment trauma, because I found it hard to believe and all that bullshit that people say because they're tired of the trauma stuff, instead of saying, let me go and look into it so I can actually become mentally, emotion, physically master. No, they want a shortcut. You know how many shortcut apps I've seen being created? I'm like, oh, they're all gonna do little shortcuts. So installments. It's not something that impresses a divine feminine, because the shortcuts to life don't exist. And no, it's not hard work. It's hard. Any person who got taught it didn't have a child-centric environment. It's called, you have 2 hands and 2 feet. You can get up every day. It's not hard. Hard is a rock. Hard is not emotions. That's because divine feminines are cool with being emotional, always. Which is why when we say, I lead with my feelings, and someone says that's stupid, we say, yeah, sure. And then you find out we all lead with feelings because your 14-month-old rules you until you're the one who can notice, ooh, like, ooh, dislike. Oh, they don't have to rule me. They're not irrefutable facts. So I won't be projecting my shit upon another human being. Anyone want to cast a stone? And so again, very clear for divine feminine. We don't lose our way because it was made clear to me what God and what we are. And that's why I told God about, hey, there's no evil. Don't find Lucifer. I find people suffering and with trauma. And I have explanations. And these people don't want to believe in the explanation. And Patrick McNamara proves there's no demon because they still want to blame demons, God. They're still wanting to blame demons. And I have dreams and I go to different dimensions too. And I still wake up. I'm Maria. I know of sciences. Patrick McNamara. They still want to blame demons. So here's the deal. I have seen people in classrooms who are supposed to be teachers in pseudo-aliveness and in their active alter state, one of their DID alters, these between therapists and spiritual, shamanic, whatevers. I'm like, wow, they don't notice themselves. Don't they care about their mental hygiene and mental health before they continue saying, I can lead you somewhere? I'm not sure they... Wait a minute, those people just put them on the pedestal. Pinocchio, are you staying at the theater with Stromboli? Are you sure you want to stay? Oh, it makes you famous and great. Okay, I see. You know what? Yeah, I'm sure it will be a great time. Sure, have fun. So, divine feminines, again, we know when we notice divine masculines, and that's because, 1, they talk sense to us. 2, they ground us. Now, if they're true divine masculines, they stick around. And if they're not, well, it's okay. We won't be offended. It's okay, Cusco. You know what? Have fun with those other Cuscos. Make sure to watch out for Stromboli. Don't get stuck on the island. I'm going to be with the other divine feminines out here. And they are a mix of divine masculines and divine feminines. So come on over. That means the gist of it, conscious creators, we tame the wind with healthy self-worth and an inner growth mindset. Tune into that episode 2 if you'd like. We are always processing thoughts and emotions as we live, being ourselves, okay? So you don't get rid of who you are. Your personality is beautiful. You do work with adaptive child and or maladaptive child behavior patterns because that's not who you are when you're growing up. That's a child version of again, distorted is not who you are. Hopefully that's become clear. So you do know day-to-day life and relationships help you to live true spirituality, a life of meaning and connection beyond the solo self. Because you say, okay, I'm not going to be doing the fucking drinking, drugging, and continuing to perpetuate my shame cycle, inner critic, outer critic, and be a traumatized human being with nothing. No, I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going to get, if I have the borderline, I'm going to get my self lens with Dr. Daniel Fox. I'm going to go to Dr. Daniel Fox. He's a great therapist. He's out there. Go check him out. Narcissism, healable. Sociopathy, healable. Psychopathy, you are workable. I don't know about the healable part because they're still looking into a lot of things. Childhood developmental trauma, Patrick Tian, healable again. So anyone who wants to use those lame-ass hurt people, or the twin flame saga, or them saying that they don't exist, they're all off track right now. Here's the deal. We can stop blaming Lucifer. He served his time. Thank you for your stories. We will know what it is. Whenever one wants to demonize, there are people who have decided to dehumanize other people by using a demon and using stories. They want to romanticize. They're people who don't want to work on their active emotional plane. So they really just want to be babied, is the word I'm going to use. Because otherwise, you won't be in a bed sending me a screen as I watch you. See, ladies, this is what it means to self isolate when they've broken up. You just do these things that you enjoy doing. And as I'm watching these ladies, I'm using ladies because as a woman, that doesn't represent all women. It's not an empowered woman. It's basically, you know, the era where women wanted to, or I don't know, in movies, they portray them as very much like, oh, yeah, okay, see, so women's gonna be like that. Yeah, get the fuck away from me now because I'm actively in my Kali mode. So I see these women acting like fragile beings, which I mean, granted, we're all fragile beings, but that stereotype, it is personal because I am a woman. Oh, and I don't cry when I get told that I'm intimidating or intense. And then there's people who are coaches who look like they're really intimidating. They start crying on screen because somebody from their following said you're too much, which they are. I actively had the same thought. I'm like, wow, you really sound like a person who's doing boot camp or something. What is this? And you're working with anxious attachment? Do you not know what anxious attachment is? You literally are scary. I don't want to work with you. And you're not scary, but you're uncomfortably uncomfortable. I didn't want to go to boot camp because I won't dare have anyone shout at me like that because I actively am 4'9" and I don't have the capacity to punch them the way I would want to. And I actively know I was made small. You will always know why you were given the gift of your size. In my case, it's good because I probably would not have wielded my brain as much as I did. Oh, yes, I love it. Okay, so collective, who co-creates divine feminines, divine masculines. When they are actually their divines, they will be, oh, what can I tell you? I'm going to save it for another episode. So you can tune in back later if you want. In the meantime, thank you for stopping by. Like, share, and subscribe. And if you know people who want to do true spirituality and spiritual self-help, so they like emotions and they like actual healthy self-worth partners, yeah, send them over. We have a good time here. And we then go and pick at the people who are pretendos. They're not pretendos. You know what? Let me specify. I'm in the Enlightenment Soul Age group. There's relationship and societal soul age group. They actively are in a specific age group and they learn things about their self through that stuff. So their 1-year-old doesn't want to become an independent one. They don't want complete self-agency. They're okay with dependency. And don't get me started. It's called motivation. And we all have 3 types of motivational stuff. And one is bigger than the other, meaning, you know, like you have a little bit more. So self-agency, bonding, and what was that other one? Certainty. Yes, Dr. Daniel Siegel. And in fact, I can't wait to take we're going to get to connect again on PHP, which adds to AAI. And if you don't know those acronyms, so I know about the Adult Attachment Interview. As a mentor, I am somebody who loves to stay updated. So I want to have that so I can conduct and support people with their category, not styles. And the PHP is something that I get to have thanks to me being in the attachment of a lifespan and interpersonal neurobiology with Dr. Daniel Siegel. I'm still finishing up those 2. Meantime, DID and disorganized attachment and consciousness and change, they're really great. And then when you know how you can apply it to support people, it's even more great. So what I was saying is, oh yes, the people who want bonding, they will be motivated here by having meaning for another human being. So if they become aware of it, okay, so I'm motivated if another person says, I love you, you mean everything to me. Personally, I would want to become independent from that, because what happens when you have no longer meaning? Are you done? Are you dying? Do you really want to give up that life? See, this is why meaning is not really great, that you don't accept that your secondary consciousness as a human is, you find it with your thoughts. And then you say, it's okay, heart. We don't like it, but that uncertainty, yes, its maximum potential is when we are in the awareness of we will die and we won't know, and it's okay. You can feel upset about it, and that's how you get resilient, Zen Master. I started when I was a kid. Marcus Aurelius talked sense into my brain. Why worry about something you can't do anything about, Maria? I actively can't do anything about not knowing when I'll die, and I don't want to. And then I became a mystic because I got clairs. It's like, wow. And I know my future husband, and I knew. No, I didn't know immediately. I found out eventually. See, divine masculines, by the way, they talk sense, and they ground a divine feminine, and they also tell us and remind us and let us remember that our dreams always come true. I will say, soulmates, they are the ones who remind you that everything you are doing is possible actively. So they're a representation of what you want to see. They actively do it. Okay? Twin flames, they actively try to tell you that you can't do it. That's how I'm going to pose it. Oh, you can only imagine a divine feminine when a divine masculine. You can't. Excuse me? Did you just tell me that I can't be myself? Let me think about that one. Sure. Yeah, whatever. There's a door. Shall I go or do you want to go? I'm not changing. That's exactly how a divine feminine with any counterpart is going to be. It ain't going to be let me lay on a bed and make sure to think about something. No, no. I'm good. You didn't want me as I am? That's totally okay, because you know what? Your amygdala has a right to lead you to where you want to go. You go have fun, divine masculines. Oh, I'm going to have fun just the same because I know exactly who I am. It's basically telling somebody not to be their self. If you have self-agency, raise your hand. And then you got lucky. No shame button. Raise your hand again. Mom, thanks, Mom. Thanks, twin. So I'm just saying, you come tell a person who's been herself her entire life, pretty much as a 3-year-old, wholeheartedly, yeah. I mean, come on. Anyone know what 3-year-olds do when you tell them, no, no. That's why I'm saying, the twin flame thing. When I heard the whole chasing and running, I'm like, you are disrespecting all of my divine masculines. We don't chase and run each other around. That's not actively what we do. We actively have nice, intense interactions, and that is all. Because that's what Italians in the south of Italy, passion. It's no jealousy, though, but it's passion. You know what? That's funny. So I will actually pause us. That way I can do storytelling. And if you want, you come back. I'll do some divine masculine storytelling. Thank you again for stopping by. And again, like, share, and subscribe if you know of people who want to be with a woo-woo spiritual pseudoscience podcast host and mentor. That way they can do emotions and thoughts and be with a bunch of people who have no chips on our shoulders. Please, enough with that. A lot of ignorance is around there. Let's have fun with information, and then we can tease. The science is people who want to prove reality isn't real with AI. The flat earthers, we are already teasing them all the time. The mantles of mental health, the mantles of yoga, the mantles of spirituality. We're going to tease more of the 4D than anything, because, the mantles of mental health, that's just a sad story. And I already know that the good therapists are on top of that. But definitely they want to get more on top of it, because I know a lot of people that would choose me over a therapist because of the bad experiences that they've had with therapists, because they're not healed. They actively are people who will be like, my gut says something's off. And it's like, yes, but they do, and we do have good ones. So hopefully the therapist will get on top of getting people that have certificates and licenses out of their own childhood trauma stuff actively. Because it's one thing doing life coaching. It's one thing doing self-help. It's one thing, in fact, I'm doing what comes after. It's another thing if you have somebody who's saying, oh, look, you pay me all this money, then in the meantime, that human being actively is not their entire self at all. They don't know about their 14-month-old coming up. They don't know about their trauma or trust breaks coming up, and they don't actively hear their Cusco tone coming up. I would be able to notice it a mile away, and so can any gut that is seeking to return home to their self. So again, all on board. Let's work together. No group of people that are awakened to their true self are going to say, oh, that's a bad person. No, it's going to be, okay, we got an Evo scale, Michael Stone, thanks, forensic criminologist, and that's taken care of by the law. And then we have YouTube and all social media. Okay, we spot the 7 to 14 charming, and they have all those people there, but they're within the law. There's our silverback with the ethical cults, culty cults, traditional cults. Okay, cool. Now we have this group. Let us try to share with people, not like the Zen master. Okay, there's a group of, oh, they won't listen to us. You know what happens when a divine feminine tells a divine masculine, hey, that's off. How dare you get rid of all of these years of very important and sacred material. You don't know anything. You take down a shaman, that's my shaman. Okay, well, that master, then you wait for it. Years after. So how's your master? He wasn't my master. He was just a friend. Huh, really? I remember you saying, no, it was really a, So that's what happens to those who are actively not awakened to their divine feminine. They just have clairs. And real deal, by the way, I'm not even talking. Divine masculines, again, they talk sense to us. They just get, what is it? Like Cusco. So you can imagine when a divine masculine doesn't awaken to their divine feminine, they do what Cusco did. And they don't end with the part about Cusco telling Pacha the truth. It ends with Cusco making up bullshit, which again, not impressive. But at least at that point, they're friends. Everything's recalibrated. So you know that there are people. And so we all have, you know, the Sid, Manny, Diego herd, and the Pachas are, come on over, Pachas. And again, we'll be back with more shortly.